No, my fellow Nami fans, Stonks are rising! Stonks are rising! Ah! Ah! Hello. Hi. Closed caption, unfortunately, is not available right now. I totally forgot to download it. It's been a busy couple days, so I don't have any closed captions. I apologize for that for everyone. But Nami Stonks are rising from the recent chapter. I'll go over exactly what I mean by that. And why Nami Stonks are impeccable at this moment. Well, not impeccable. They've risen a little bit. They gained like a small percentage, but it could mean a lot of good things for the near future. And bonks are always dropping. Bonks are always fucking dropping, baby. Because I'm a Nami fan, so of course I gotta get bonked every once in a while. But it is exciting because we have a few things to discuss about the recent chapter. We also got some new information for the video cards that we could go over. I will not go over one specific video card because I know how much of a controversial thing that is, so I will not discuss it. I do not care enough about the controversy behind it, so I will not go over it. Just to let everybody know, I'm just not gonna go over it. It's just gonna start heated discussions over and over again. So I will not go over that one particular video card. But I am excited to discuss more. I don't know. Again, and as usual, my goddamn display capture does not fucking work. I hate whatever happened. I don't know what happened. It's apparently a bug on OBS that causes this issue that I have with my display capture, right? I don't know. I don't know why. I literally have to like. Oh my god. I literally have to turn off one of my displays in order for it to just goddamn work. And it pisses me off. I downloaded, re-downloaded. That's not... See? Now I have to connect the other one. Right? I have to connect the other one. Then I have to disconnect this one. Just to get the proper one open. I hate that. I don't know why OBS is doing this to me. I really do not know. It pisses me off. But yes, this is the correct display capture. We got the Nami Stonks. We got Nami. Right up there, baby. I don't know why it does that. Aliens versus Predator. The fucking game really fucked over everything. Oh man. Again, like oh my god, I hate this thing so much. All right, Seb. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you later. Have a great night. Hey, Reality Man. Finally streams at a good UK time. Nature is healing. Yes, I know. Thursdays might be a time when I could definitely do like really early ones because it's the day after the because I'm in the office. I'm in at work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And usually what that would mean is that I am super tired by the time I come home, so I probably sleep in and wake up earlier than usual, so I'll probably be able to do early streams. But yes, Nami Stonks are rising up, and I am loving every single minute of it. Let me just do one more thing on X. There we go. Did I not do it? There we go. Oh, fuck me. God damn it. Oh, my God. I'll be able to edit. Yes, perfect. I'll be able to, yes. But yeah, like I said, we'll go over a bunch of stuff. We'll go over the what the chapter presented, and some other things as well. This was a very fascinating chapter. It really was, and I think a lot of people are. I would say this is probably one of the more like really like Game of Thrones-esque chapters. When you really think about it, with the way the villains are being portrayed in this scenario. And I do believe that, like, absolutely, Imu is going to be the final villain of One Piece. I truly believe, regardless of what Imu actually is, you know, whether Imu is male, female, whatever, it's pretty obvious that, like, Blackbeard is not meant to be the final villain. And like I mentioned in my previous stream before, the reason why I also think so, and this actually helped, the stuff that happened in the recent chapter helped prove my point. Luffy versus Blackbeard is not going to be the final challenge. It's not going to be the final boss. It's going to be essentially the climax of the pirate ideologies that they both represent. They represent one side, freedom, adventure, and the good side of piracy, which I know it's not a thing that exists, but in terms of One Piece, there is a good side of piracy, which is essentially adventure, dreams, and you know, all that fun stuff, right? All that fun stuff. In the case of Blackbeard, it's more of the shittier, more violent side of piracy, where it's still about dreams and freedom, but only freedom for Blackbeard himself. With Luffy, his ideology of piracy is freedom to go on adventures anywhere he wants, but without presenting more chaos, more violence towards others. It would allow him to be the one to be freely go on adventures out at sea without really harming or really going after people, pillaging them, you know, going after like being dicks to people. He's just going on adventures, meeting new people, and just having fun along the way. Blackbeard is the opposite. Piracy, pillaging, causing chaos, destruction, based on his version of piracy freedom. It's why they represent similar ideologies, but the totally opposite of the spectrum. Bro, talk about the chapter when it hasn't even been officially released? Man, shut the fuck up. No one does. The only people who do are the people who literally fucking are getting paid by Viz Media. No one else fucking discusses about the actual official release of the fucking manga. Get the... That's some bullshit. Now, if Viz Media paid me, of course I'll be doing that. That's a different story. I get the bag. Hell yeah. But the idea that, like, people have to wait for the official release, I get it. It's supporting. I pay for Viz Media. I pay for Shonen Jump. I pay for that shit. So, I'm allowed to do, whatever the fuck. No, not everything. That is not true. I can't do whatever the fuck I want. That is not true whatsoever. But, I do support Oda. I do buy manga. I have a bunch of fucking shit. One Piece merchandise. That I still continuously buy, and I also support Viz Media by paying the, what was it, $3 a month or some shit like that. So I still support them. So the idea that like you have to wait for the official release is kind of dumb. Now, if you haven't read the new chapter, that's a different story. I fully understand that, right? But the idea that like you have to read the official is just by people who are actually being paid for by Viz Media to actually do so. They represent crybabies in kindergarten, at least Luffy. No, Graz, that's not what that means. Please stop acting. It's not acting, but please stop saying stuff like that because that is not true whatsoever. Just because Luffy actually shows emotion does not make him any more weaker than anyone else. People are allowed to show emotion. People are allowed to cry when people die. It's perfectly fine. That kind of ideology, I guess, is just so medieval. So medieval. Like, goddamn it, let people cry. Let men cry. Men are allowed to cry. In fact, men who cry and show emotion are much more manly than fucking men who don't. Who try to be so manly that nothing affects them emotionally. Luffy is the biggest loser. Well, that biggest loser is gonna become Pirate King, and then you'll see what happens. Imagine using the internet. No. Trust me, that's a lot of people on the internet. It's insane. I'm not like. I guess I'm more emotional than so-called manly by people. But at the end of the day, men are allowed to show emotion. Men who try very hard to hide their emotions, to not showcase that things are bothering them, are more likely to be more depressed later on, or more likely to be constantly tortured on the inside. And it's a terrible mindset to have. It's a terrible mindset to have, and it can cause a lot of people, a lot of men out there, to be very depressed, very emotionally depressed, and could cause them to cause them self-harm. If men show emotion to get that is no, my God. What a terrible take. This isn't the goddamn 1980s anymore. If you didn't cry, well, technically I didn't cry on that. I did cry in Chopper's backstory though. I'm just more sensitive to sad when animals are sad and cry. So that was me. I cried over that, and what was the other one that I cried on? There was one other moment. I just can't remember what it was. But I will say I did cry over Chopper. I did not cry over Going Merry's death that much. I didn't cry over Ace's death. I did cry over Chopper's backstory though. That shit is emotional and I hate it. Mostly because I don't like seeing animals sad, animals hurt, and it just tore me on the inside. So, yes. That was where I emotionally got invested in, like emotionally cried in One Piece. It was pretty much that. But it's perfectly okay for men to cry. If anyone says otherwise, then you're actually causing more harm than trying to be manly. You're causing way more harm than you probably don't realize. I even cried when Henry Cavill showed up at the end of Black Adam. No Sakura, but being happy so I couldn't contain it. But was that even Henry Cavill though? I thought that was just that they imposed they just got some guy to wear the Superman outfit. Oh wait, Black Adam. Oh wait, I was thinking of the Flash. I don't know why I was thinking not the Flash. Fucking Shazam. God damn it, they both fucking have the lightning bolt. God damn it, I'm thinking of Shazam. Never mind. I was thinking of Shazam. Not Black Adam. It was Shazam. I know what the scene you're talking about. Yes, I know what the scene you're talking about now. For some reason, I was thinking of Shazam. Don't worry about it. I got confuzzled, as I usually do. Yeah. But in any case, I implore men to cry, and if they want to cry in front of me, I will give them the time to allow them to stress out their feelings more so than telling them to suck it up, buttercup. That's my take, and I care about men's mental health a lot. It was a good scene. I like the one where like someone on YouTube imposed like his head. Or like it was either impose his head on Superman or like they just took that shot and just extended it to showcase Henry Cavill and like from like a shot from another movie. It was pretty cool. It was pretty fun. Anyway, One Piece. Let's talk about One Piece a little bit. Well, not a little bit. The entire time, because that's what this stream is all about. So, I can show the chapter, unfortunately, because I'm on YouTube, which sucks major ball sacks, but that's mostly because I also want to leave this up on YouTube. But One Piece 1125, it is a very interesting chapter because it showcased a lot on the side of the world government, on the side of the Marines, where it showcases mostly their true colors, where they are essentially the tyrannical opposing figure that would have, in my personal opinion, will eventually lead to the final conflict at the end of One Piece. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, Blackbeard's ideology is and the fight for Blackbeard is going to happen. I think much more closer than people think, because I believe at the Elbap there's like one more island before they have to think about going to Laptel, as well as the Poneglyph on Elbap. But I do think the battle for the One Piece will be either a solo battle between Luffy's crew and Blackbeard's crew, or it could be in a total battle royale where it could include Blackbeard, Luffy, the Cross Guild, and maybe other groups, other pirate groups. But it's more than likely going to be those involved. That's likely where we're going to have Zoro become the world's strongest swordsman, assuming that Crossguard is going to get involved for the Battle of One Piece. But before we get to that, more than likely, Blackbeard versus Shanks, there was an interesting conversation, or like a question posted on like this Twitter community about, does Blackbeard have Conqueror's Haki? Now, normally people would say, yeah, of course he does. Why wouldn't he have Conqueror's Haki? Now, I'm not disputing that he doesn't have Conqueror's Haki. I think he probably does. What I'm saying is that what I made a post about it. Let me see if I can find it. I did make a post about it. My take wasn't that he didn't have it. It was that he doesn't need it. And I'll explain a little bit why. See, the reason why I don't think he needs it specifically is because his ideology in terms of like what is superior is that devil fruits are superior to Haki. It perfectly contradicts the path that Luffy's going with Haki, as well as the path that Shanks went with Haki, right? And again, the whole thing that's going to end up with Luffy versus Blackbeard for the One Piece is going to be about the separate pirate ideologies that exist. And that's going to be what causes the fight between, well, not causes the fight, but it's essentially going to be the main point of argument, or the main purpose of that fight between them for the One Piece. The One Piece is going to essentially be fought for, and the winner of this fight is going to essentially be the winner. Their ideology is essentially going to win. Now, that ideology is going to be then later on going to be going against Imu and the ideology of freedom versus total control. And in this chapter, we know what happens with now this is the part where, like, if you haven't read the chapter, I would recommend not staying. Red Halo. What essentially this means, and what this chapter actually helped present, is that the reason why Imu doesn't want anyone to reach Laptel is because Imu understands that whoever reaches Laptel is going to be taking on the will of Joy Boy. He doesn't care if they grab whatever the One Piece is, right? He cares that the One Piece represents Joy Boy's will. It's all eventually leads to Joy Boy in some form or way. And the way I see it, in my own personal interpretation, is that Imu does not want whatever Joy Boy has, planned to come true. Right? It's the reason why he's been very, not caring enough about going after pirates or anything like that. He hasn't been, very much interested in what a lot of the pirates do, right? He leaves that all to the world government, to the Navy, to the Gorosei, and all that stuff. Imu doesn't give a shit about that. What he cares is that Joy Boy's ideology, his will, everything regarding Joy Boy gets squashed to the ground and fucking dead. Which is why I think the reveal for Imu is not going to happen until the battle between Luffy and Blackbeard ends. Which I think comes out as Luffy's victory. And as Luffy is probably on Laptail, that's probably where the fight concludes. As he goes there and he tries to look for whatever the One Piece is, that is when we get the full reveal of Imu. Right? That's where we get the full reveal of Imu. And that will be essentially the cause of the final conflict, because Imu somehow steals the One Piece right under or destroys Laptail, and the One Piece either gets, not necessarily gets destroyed, but is either taken or, disappears, because he destroys Laptail, probably by Uranus. He shoots down those beams of light, and that's it. Right? But the point is that I was trying to make in regards to Luffy versus Blackbeard as why it would happen, before the final conflict, is because it's still about the pirate ideology. You have to conclude the pirate ideology before you conclude the full thing in regards to what Imu, what the real final conflict is going to be at, which is essentially, sorry, I'm all over the place. Is essentially Luffy's version of freedom and whatever Luffy's dream is, because Luffy's dream apparently represents very similar things to what Roger said, and Roger himself believed that he was supposed to be, taking on the will of Joy Boy, but he was too early. Sorry, my phone. But someone mentioned this in a kind of like a discussion about, like, does Blackbeard have Conqueror's Haki? This I think is in part to, like, probably from the Vivian cards or something like that. I don't think we got a Blackbeard Vivian card. But my response was, I'm going to say no. It's not because he doesn't or shouldn't have it. I think the whole point of Blackbeard is to showcase that Haki in the end doesn't matter as long as you have the power of Devil Fruits. It's why he's hunted them. It's why he has two and possibly can get a third one, which I predict will be Marco's. The point with him is that he's going to go against the ideology that Haki's superior, and adds more to the possible fight between him and Shanks, and essentially goes against the fight he's going to have with Luffy, where Luffy trains more of his Haki, but Luffy has both Haki and Devil Fruit. Now, right, this is one option. Like, him going after Marco's Fruit could be one option and claiming Marco's Fruit, but some people believe, right, that Blackbeard is going to steal Luffy's Nika fruit, right? And that is a pretty interesting prediction, a pretty interesting theory that's who Blackbeard is going to get as his third Zoan mythical fruit. Because he's going to get all three. He's going to get all three types. Whether or not he gets Luffy's fruit is going to be very interesting, or Marco's fruit. Either one of them he's going to get before his fight with Shanks. I do believe that Shanks versus Blackbeard are going to fight. They are going to fight. It's a debate whether or not Shanks dies in terms of this fight, but they are going to fight, because you're essentially trying to lower the playing field, or like lessen the combatants for Laptail to find the One Piece, right? Which is why it's also possible they could be a battle royale. If there's a battle royale for it with all four Yonko, that would be a different story. Because then you could have a situation where Shanks doesn't have to die at all. And you could have Shanks versus someone else during the final conflict. The only issue I have with that is the idea that Luffy's essentially going to give Shanks back the hat. The problem I have with it is that the hat is essentially a passing of the torch. It wouldn't make sense to me to give it back to Shanks. It's supposed to be a passing of the torch. Someone else is supposed to get the hat, because it's supposed to, assuming the hat belongs to Joy Boy, right? It's supposed to continue being passed around until the rightful owner gets it. And Luffy seems to be the rightful owner of the hat, because he's going to take on Joy Boy's will. So that's why I think Shanks' death is going to carry more weight in that and also cause more of the reason for Luffy to really try to stop Blackbeard and whatever he's accomplishing. Not that he was going to get revenge on Blackbeard, but considering that Shanks was the pirate that he always looked up to, he believed that, Shanks was super strong and that nobody could beat his ideology. Shanks' ideology is very similar to Luffy's, but if Blackbeard destroys that ideology, if he kills Shanks, he essentially is telling Luffy that what you believe in, your dreams, your ideology of piracy, I squashed it. Because you looked up to Shanks. You looked up to his ideology of being a pirate. I squashed that shit. Which means your ideology is far weaker than what I had planned. That's why I think it's more likely that Blackbeard versus Shanks happens before the Battle of One Piece. Shanks gets killed, and it just gives more weight to their fight for the One Piece. Right? And then the fight happens, Luffy wins, and I think that is going to initiate and give us the full reveal of Imu, where Imu is the one that steals the One Piece right from under Luffy, and then that starts the final conflict. And it's all about trying to stop anyone for taking on the world or taking on or completing whatever plan Jorbe wanted, because he wants to squash it. We see it in the chapter. What happens with Saturn? Guess what? The reason Saturn died isn't because, he failed to do whatever he was tasked. He failed because he let Joy Boy escape, essentially letting Luffy escape. That's why Imu was pissed off. He accomplished a lot of the things. The only other thing he didn't accomplish was, stopping Vegapunk's message. But I don't think Imu cares so much about that. The moment, Imu, didn't really care about the message and probably wouldn't have killed Saturn at that point. But when Emmett removed the rope and the hockey, that is what caused Imu to be extremely pissed off at Saturn. If that didn't happen, Saturn more than likely would have survived, would have stayed alive. The real reason he killed Saturn is because Jorboy's will and the person that likely will carry his will is still alive. He hasn't been captured. That's what Imu is pissed off about. Everybody talking shit. Blackbeard kills Shanks. He's a coward. Again, you're proving my point. He's a coward, which is the complete opposite of what Shanks and Luffy are. That's the point. He's supposed to represent the separate and opposite ideology of what Luffy's vision and what Shanks' vision of piracy is about. Luffy is brave. Luffy goes on adventure. It's fun. Blackbeard wants chaos, control. He wants to pillage. And at the same time, he's afraid of dying. Unlike Luffy, who is if he dies along the way, then he dies. That's why it's so imperative and so important that this fight happens before the conflict with Imu does, because you're trying to essentially set up the ending of the story where the freedom that Luffy so desperately needs or desperately wants, his dream, his goal, right, has to be involved with something that's blocking that. Blackbeard technically doesn't block that vision of it. He blocks it in the sense that, he wants the One Piece as well, right? But if Blackbeard, for example, let's say Blackbeard wins. Blackbeard takes the One Piece, right? How does that, in any shape or form, still stop Luffy from being free, right? It doesn't necessarily. What it does, though, is allow him to be free under Blackbeard's rule, under Blackbeard's control, which is not what he wants. To him, that would essentially be going against everything, because look at it this way. If Blackbeard takes control, Blackbeard can destroy the world government like that. Luffy will now be free to sell wherever he wants because the world government won't be after, right? Blackbeard will allow Luffy to do whatever the hell he wants because guess what? Blackbeard can control, not control. Sorry, that's not the right word. But Blackbeard will allow Luffy to just sail freely wherever he wants. Now, if they could go clash with one another, that's perfectly fine, right? But the point is that Blackbeard doesn't indirectly go after Luffy's vision of freedom. Emu does. Emu and the world government do. And that is why they are likely to be the major villains of the final conflict. Izakara thought Saturn died because Oda drew it. No. No, what? No. Saturn died because he failed to do the one thing Emu did not want to happen, which is allowing Joy Boy to escape. Right? Now, Blackbeard can definitely, fuck with Luffy's freedom, prevent him. But only if Luffy, in some form of way, tries to go after him. Blackbeard could literally get the One Piece, rule the world, but he could let Luffy do whatever the hell he wants, right? Emu is going to try to stop doing that, which is why I think that conflict has to happen at the end of One Piece. But yeah, essentially, Saturn died not because of Vegapunk's message, not because of, everything else that he kind of failed at. He failed at not capturing Joy Boy, and that is what Emu was pissed off more about. It's all leading down to, essentially, Emu versus the will of Joy Boy for the final conflict. It will be a parallel to that Great War at the end, right? What that Great War is about, it's essentially going to parallel to whatever the future war is going to be. The piracy stuff is going to be literally before that, because, they've been mentioning, One Piece is essentially going to change the world. Why in the world would Emu allow that? Emu has worked very hard to make sure that nobody knows what happened to the Ancient Kingdom, knows what happened to, everything else. But what he doesn't want is Joy Boy's will to continue. He doesn't want Joy Boy to essentially be, what his idea, what he planned to happen 800 years when someone who could take on his will to exist. So there's that. The Celestial Dragons. It's funny because the Celestial Dragons are crying and bitching because there's no food, no candy, and stuff like that, which makes me laugh because they're fucking dickwads, right? They're fucking dickwads, and it's just funny. They essentially getting the comeuppance and experiencing what poor people are going through every single day. It's just funny. It's just funny that now they know how that fucking feels, and good riddance. Fuck them. Fuck those Celestial Dragons. Right? Fuck them. Pieces of shit. What else happened? Right, so we also find out that when Emmett tried to destroy the Marijoys and climb up the red line, apparently Saturn's the one who told the scientists to study it, thinking that eventually if they study it, they'll be able to, use weapons or create weapons that would be beneficial for the world government. He essentially lied because the world government are the ones that told him directly or told everyone to, destroy it so that it doesn't exist anymore, which technically goes against probably what Emu wanted. Saturn decided that, no, this actually might be beneficial for us. And essentially that became his downfall, which is fucking funny as fuck. And essentially, his thinking that Emmett could be used in some form of way to become to use it to create actual really powerful weapons, it's funny because it just literally was the thing that really fucked him over in the end. Where's Grandpa? Why wasn't he showcased? Which Grandpa? What? Hey Norman, what's up? Wait, Graz, what are you talking about? Why wasn't he showcased? Wait, who? Who are you talking about? Oh no, my Discord. Don't look at that. It's not funny. Don't look at my Discord. Oh, Vegapunk. Oh, Well, we could definitely talk about that too. Well, Vegapunk, you talk about in the flashback. You talk about Vegapunk, why wasn't he shown during that flashback? It's because he probably wasn't alive. It was 200 years ago, so he probably wasn't alive yet. Vegapunk, I don't think, would have existed 200 years ago. Something is up. I don't know if I'm allowed to say what. Okay, I can. My browser says I'm watching this on it. What? Oh. Wait, what? You're confusing me, Norman. Oh, because okay, that's another simple answer. Vegapunk is human. Vegapunk is human. The other Vegapunks are literally androids. They're literally robots. That's why Vegapunk, the older version of Vegapunk, is human. He's not an actual android. He's not an actual robot. That's the difference. That's why the old man Vegapunk didn't show up during the revival scene. Doberman got his head fucking blasted by his Saturn, which is funny. Poor guy. Don't question your fucking ruler. Don't question the guy whose authority is higher than yours, you little fucking. But yes, we also find out in the chapter that the Vegapunks, Edison, Pythagoras, Atlas, and I forgot who the other ones, the cool one. Vegapunk Good, whatever his name is. I forgot what his name is. They're all alive because essentially what happened is that they had spare parts. Essentially, they had spare parts, and when they what was it called? The Edison records? No, not the Edison. The Punk records. Essentially had a computer in there that essentially brought back new versions of these Vegapunks to life by inserting their memories. Maybe Lilith had something to do with it. You know, when she touched her headset, it could have been that. Or it could have just been like they programmed it before, you know, all the shit that happened in Punk Hazard, like how we know they did all that stuff with planning out the whole York thing. They probably had that in case because they knew they were all going to die. So they essentially, you know, set it where like the computer would activate the extra parts, the extra versions of them to come to life when Vegapunk dies. That's essentially what I think happened. And now they decide to be one single Vegapunk with a combination of Edison and everyone else. It seems that based on what we see in the chapter, Edison seems to be the one that's in, like, at least has the actual, you know, body, has the actual version of himself in reality, while the others are more of like in his computer, in his memory, in the hard drive, I guess you could say. So it's like, yes, I don't want Nami to have important parents, not gonna lie. You see that I heard that before, and I can understand why people don't want that. Because it will mean that like Nami will be like just another character that's like prophesized, kind of like how, you know, Luffy is being connected to Joy Boy. I can see that they want Nami to be normal. So it's like, I get that, but at the same time, Oda has tiptoed around Nami's past, around Nami's origin several times, so I think he will invoke something with her origin. Now, whether or not that involves Birkin, involves the Ancient Kingdom, I don't know. I do think that because he's said it twice already, when he has plans for her past in some sort of way, and apparently it's a tearjerker according to what he said in Strong World, I think it's coming. I do think it's coming. But I get why people wouldn't like it, right? The only thing I would say is that the only reason why people wouldn't like it is because they don't want anything for Nami, because Nami, is a gold digger, all that fancy fucking comments about Nami. Then I'll be like, okay, you just don't want her to have an importance in the story. That is where I'm like, eh. But if it's because you just want her to be normal and want her like weather knowledge and stuff like that to be something that she learned by herself and she just has a natural gift, that I can understand. It's the part where like, they just don't want Nami to have anything at all. That's where I'm like, no, that's not a solid reason. You're just jealous and don't want Nami to be as important as your favorite character. So that's where I'm like, yeah, I don't trust that. I'm excited with her origin and power-ups. Hello, Suzanne. How are you? Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. I am excited too. I'm excited to see what Oda has planned for it. I'm leaning towards more of the Birkin theory, the Burka. Her being somewhat connected to Burka, but anything is possible, and I'm just excited to see what it could be. Honestly, I've never seen One Piece. I read a tiny bit of manga, but it's just too long. Luckily for you, Norman, they are remaking the anime. So, if you want to start One Piece in some form or way, the One Piece remake anime would be a perfect place if you want to at least, like, just to get a feel for One Piece. Because I think what's going to happen with the One Piece remake is going to give you a more definitive and a much better version of One Piece than what Toei did, which is a lot of filler and a lot of stupid, nonsensical bullshit that they added, right? Yes, but there's going to be a One Piece remake that comes out sometime next year that's going to cover the East Blue arc. So if you want to like dip your toes into it, that would be the perfect time. It would be like a week-to-week anime, so that would be like something that you could definitely check out if you want to, get into One Piece. Did I watch the Nintendo Direct? Yes, wait. The other one, right? Yes, I did. I did see it. I saw the remake. And it was just like, God damn it. You mean I brought the original and now they're releasing a remake? God damn, I am, that is some, I don't know if that's bad luck or good luck. What's up, Static? Yeah, exactly, because I don't really like shows that have MCs who have very important parents. Luffy works fine with Dragon, I like that stuff, but what I don't like is Naruto and Minato, for example. Yeah, see, I can understand that. There's a lot of people who want the MCs to be essentially where they just want them to be normal people with tremendous gifts. Not like because they're chosen or like they're the the child of prophecy. Ooh. I can understand that. I can understand the chosen one dynamic is something that's like overplayed. I get that. I will say though, the reason why a lot of people do the chosen one stuff is because it's still so good. It's still so fucking good. Like, a lot of people enjoy it. But it can get oversaturated. It can be played out so many times. So I understand that reasoning, right? I don't know how important Nami's origin will be, right? I don't know at what level. Like, let's just say, for example, Nami's origin, right? Nami's origin is like, she is the last remaining bloodline of the royal family of the Ancient Kingdom. Let's just, for example, say that is it, right? People will be mad because, oh crap, great, Nami has the the bloodline of an ancient family. Oh my god, oh my goodness gracious, can't these MCs ever be fucking normal? I think that will be where like a lot of people will be upset about. Granted, there will also be other people who will be upset that Nami just is now considered an important character in some form or way. But that's going to happen regardless, no matter what her origin story is. They just don't want Nami to, essentially have importance, right? But I do think that her natural gift of predicting weather has to come from somewhere. Usually, whenever you have natural gifts like that, it has to originate from something, right? It has to originate from something. You can learn navigation all you want, but why is it that Nami's the only one who has this natural gift? Why don't other navigators do? There has to be something behind that, and I think that's where it's going to. And I think her natural gift and all that stuff with navigation is going to come from whatever her origin is, whether it be the Ancient Kingdom, whether it be Burka, Sky Islands. I just think that it will come from there. Now, it could be that Nami has no connection to like a royal family or anything like that, but she comes from a civilization, right? She comes from a civilization that allows people to have this natural gift. That could be one way you could do Nami's origin story and backstory without giving her like, you know, like she's the queen of an ancient kingdom, or like, you know, she's the princess of Burka or whatever like that, right? Right? You could do that, where she just has like this bloodline that runs through her, like, you know, like how Zoro has the Wano blood in him, you know, because his family originated from Wano. You could have something like that. I think that wouldn't be a problem for most people. I think the real problem would be like if she's the queen or the princess of like an ancient kingdom or like a kingdom up above, right? That is fair. Yes, it's a remake of the first game. Fans didn't know what direction it was going, whether it be 3D or port PC to consoles. I wouldn't say the remake is a remaster one. I wouldn't mind playing either one. Either the remake or the original. I would not mind. The longest anime I've completed is Hunter x Hunter, but holy cat, that was good all the way through. There you go. I fully understand. Terraria does not have a good track record of the anime, although I will say pre-time skip has some really good comedy from One Piece. It really does. There's some moments pre-time skip that I just laughed my ass off. Nami, who called hockey? That watershed is simply hockey. You see, I thought that too. I think that could also just be what it is, right? That could essentially be what it is. That she just has a really rare form of hockey where she's able to predict weather like that. It's perfectly, you know, that could literally just be it. And I'll be okay with that. I would actually be okay with that. The thing is, what I'm arguing is that Oda has tiptoed and has mentioned Nami's past and what he has planned for it twice already. One for when he discussed Strong World, and the other time when he talked to the writer for Film Gold, where he didn't want him to, you know, dive too deep into Nami's past, right? Because he had a plan for it. Those were apparently his words that he told the screenwriter for Film Gold. So that's why I'm like, okay, so that means that there has to be something there. There has to be something with her origin story that is going to be important later on. I still think Luffy's mom could be related to Roger somehow. Interesting. Luffy's mom related to Roger. I wouldn't be surprised if like she was like Roger's sister or something like that. I don't know. I think personally we will see something about Luffy's mom in Dragon's flashback, but I don't think she'll have like an important role to the point where it's like she is something more important than they're giving, because it's literally all about the Monkey D clan story, not necessarily whoever Luffy's mom is, right? I could be wrong, but like I don't think she'll be that important where like she'll be like, you know, Roger's sister or somehow related to Roger. It's possible, but I don't know. There has to be something with the Monkey D clan that somehow is more connected to Joy Boy than, say, you know, Roger's bloodline, right? Or the Gold D Roger bloodline, right? I don't have a problem with her getting origin story that explains stuff, but I wouldn't want her to get the Sanji treatment, like being a princess. I mean, Sanji... I mean, I get it. I get it. Like, I fully understand. Like, yeah, I think that's where most people would be more upset about. Like, she has, like... her bloodline is somewhat related to some sort of, like, ancient, like, royal family or something like that. That's where I think a lot of people would be more upset about. I get that. I get that. I never really liked the idea of the Celestial Dragon things. It doesn't really fit Luffy's idealistic point of view. Well, no. Well, here's the thing. It will represent similar to what happened with Dolphy's family, where his family just didn't like the way the Celestial Dragons were acting, so they decided to live among the humans, and that caused a huge ass problem. That is a very popular theory that I once believed, that Luffy's mom is in somewhat connection, or like was a former Celestial Dragon, that you know, decided that what the Celestial Dragons were about and what they did was really vile. And, you know, Dragon's the one that helped her escape from Mara Joyce, right? You know, or something like that. That I once believed a theory like that. I'm on the edge of it now. Like, I still believe that it could be a thing, but I think it's highly unlikely. Right? What I could also picture is that Luffy's mom was a slave to the Celestial Dragons. And Dragon saw the treatment she was getting and essentially... Oh, shit. And essentially... Sorry about that. And essentially rescued her. And that's what caused his disgust with the Celestial Dragons and why he left the world government and why Akainu could have been like his, you know, brother in arm in the world government, in the Marines, and he disagreed with what Dragon was doing. That's also a possibility. That could literally be that he saved a slave, you know, who turned out to be Luffy's mom. That's also another possibility. But it could be that she had no connection with the Celestial Dragons at all. It'll be really interesting to eventually see Dragon's backstory, which, by the way, Dragon finally made a move to the beach. He's progressing slowly, but Dragon is slowly making his move. He went from moving in from his seat now to the beach. So there's progress in what Dragon is planning on doing. So that is fantastic. But I do think the Revolutionary Army is going to start moving in the direction of going to go after the world government, go after Emu, while either you know, the battle, not the battle for One Piece, but before the battle of One Piece, when Luffy and Blackbeard are heading towards Laptail to see who gets there. And then that was started, but I think before that, that's when the Revolutionary Army makes its move. Do you have a rough time on what you think will happen at the end of One Piece? I do. I did it on my previous stream. Let me bring it up. Will Dragon save his dad, though? Very good question. This is essentially the timeline I made last stream of what I think is like the remainder of One Piece. I don't know if you can see it, but let me see if I could move it like this. I think this would be better. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Let me just make it a little bit bigger. So this is what I predict the remaining timeline of One Piece actually is. I think it will be finished in 7 years. 7 years time. But essentially this is what I have, what I predict would be the remainder of One Piece. Egghead just ended. So, Straw Hats arrive on Elbaf. Blackbeard kills Marco. Or someone else with the mythical devil fruit. And that causes, or goes into Shanks versus Blackbeard. The reason why I have Marco be the one is because there is some sort of connection between Shanks and Marco, to the point where, like, if he hears that Marco died in some way, he'll be curious, like, wait, what the fuck? How did that happen? Who did it? If he is Blackbeard did it, then that could cause him to go after Blackbeard. Thus, Shanks versus Blackbeard happens. Shanks dies. Shanks dies. Luffy hears about the battle between Blackbeard and Shanks, and either he gets there or he learns about the aftermath after, where literally Blackbeard kills Shanks. Luffy goes to where the battle was fought, goes to try to find Shanks. He's dead. He's dead. It causes Luffy to be either extremely pissed off or extremely sad because of what happened. He's not able to fulfill his promise, which is something that Luffy desperately wants to, to do, because he cares about his promises. But he's unable to do it because Blackbeard caused more pain and agony to him and prevented him from doing that. Do you believe Hancock will die at the end of the series? Oh, Shanks. To what I believe, yes. I do believe Shanks is going to die. Do you think Shanks loses to Blackbeard in one, or does he get ganged? Well, it's definitely not just going to be Shanks versus the entire Blackbeard crew. It's going to be Shanks' crew versus the entirety of Blackbeard's crew. So I think at some point, I think the Redhead crew is not going to match up with Blackbeard's crew, right? And I think that's where, like, literally, why eventually Shanks is going to also be cornered by his entire crew, and that's how Blackbeard wins. I don't think Shanks wins 1v1. I mean, I don't think Blackbeard wins versus Shanks 1v1. It would be interference with somebody else from within his crew, right? Now, that's a different story if, like, you know, because right now, I don't think Blackbeard is strong enough to kill Shanks at this moment. He has to get that last and third Devil Fruit, that Zoan mythical type, in order to match up against Shanks. Right? So he has to. That's why I think out of all the current all the current options, I do think Marco is the most likely that Blackbeard goes after and kills him to steal his Devil Fruit. So after the fight, Blackbeard escapes and heads for One Piece. Luffy decides that it's now time to head for the One Piece, and they both are sailing towards Lapto with the poneglyphs, with everything they have. Also, another thing, the reason why Blackbeard fighting Shanks makes sense to me before the One Piece, Blackbeard is going to steal all the information that Shanks and his crew have of the One Piece. That's how he gets the final pieces that he needs, because more than likely Shanks does have the last poneglyph for Elbaf. From Elbaf. Which is why Blackbeard killing him also means that he gets the final clues of the red poneglyphs that he needs. Right? And as Blackbeard and Luffy set sail towards Lapto to finally obtain the One Piece, the Reds and world government go to war. Reds unfortunately get demolished. They lose so badly, it causes morale to decrease and creates a much more powerful world government. Much more powerful world government. Do you believe Crosscut will go to Impel Down? Right now, currently, Crosscut doesn't have the manpower to really go up against Blackbeard, Shanks, or Luffy's crew in terms of, like, if it's a battle royale for the One Piece. They're gonna need more allies, and I think what will happen is that they could go to Impel Down to recruit those people, like Dolphy, right? Dolphy could go there, and I do think that it would actually work out for them if the battle for One Piece is a battle royale between Luffy, Blackbeard, Cross Guild, even the world government. Right? But I do think Cross Guild is going to get involved, simply just because that would be a perfect time for Zoro versus Mihawk to occur. When it becomes the world's strongest swordsman. Mihawk singles them all 1 versus 1,000. Currently, right now, you cannot use that same. You cannot say that because of how much stronger both Zoro and Luffy and both have gotten, right? But I do think that Zoro versus Shiryu happens first before Zoro versus Mihawk does. Because I think Zoro has to beat Shiryu, and that allows him to unlock a much stronger observation haki, right? Because, Shiryu is going to become invisible. So he has to, channel haki, or even, power up his Conqueror's haki to eventually then go up against Mihawk. So I think Zoro versus Shiryu needs to happen first before, Zoro fights Mihawk during this battle for the One Piece. Then, Luffy beats Blackbeard. Right? Luffy beats Blackbeard. Great. Now, I made this point in the last stream, but I do want to say it again. Do you think Nika Fruit will use Fire? The only way I think that could happen is if Luffy eats the Mother Flame. That's the only way I think it could happen. I don't think he's going to be able to use Fire. He could probably manipulate Fire because of his Looney Toony powers. Right? Same way he did, like, lightning and stuff like that. Right? But that will probably be the only way. I don't see him using fire in some sort of way unless you go into vulcanization with rubber, but I don't know if that would be like the Gear 6 or something like that. It's very well possible, but there has to be a few factors that have to play into it. I also think Weevil will join them. I do think Weevil will join because right now Weevil is with Marco, protecting, Whitebeard's hometown. Which is why Blackbeard showing up there, killing Marco, stealing his devil fruit might piss off Weevil. The Cross Guild might be the only way he gets in to get there for the Battle of One Piece. To be there to try and, kill Blackbeard for what he has done. So it's very well possible that Weevil does join Cross Guild. Hi, Kazuma. Thank you for lurking. Have a great nap. So that's why I think it's possible that Weevil does go into Cross Guild. Now, as I was saying, Luffy beats Blackbeard. Likely Luffy winds up on Laptail because that's where Blackbeard and Luffy's fight leads up to. But before he could get even to the One Piece or look for it, like let's say Luffy winds up on the beach and he's wounded, he's struggling, he's on all fours trying to lift himself up because he's finally made it to the last island. Imu, in a huge double spread panel as Luffy's on the ground, wounded and barely breathing, Imu's full reveal shows up. He looks down at Luffy and literally just tells him, and literally just mocks him and tells him, "You have failed once again, Joy Boy." Because now Imu's the one that grabs a hold of whatever the One Piece is. He goes to the island, grabs whatever the One Piece is, takes off, and summons Uranus to completely destroy Laptail. The same way Lelouch was destroyed. I think that will be the perfect time for a full body reveal of Imu. That moment where Luffy looks up and stares up at the final villain of One Piece. The final obstacle he goes up against for his freedom, for his dream, for him to become Pirate King. Because it doesn't matter if someone else grabs the One Piece, right? It doesn't matter. The one who eventually holds and changes the world becomes the Pirate King and becomes the full claimant of the One Piece. Imu won't become the Pirate King if he grabs the One Piece. That's not how it works, right? Imu could use the One Piece or prevent Luffy from getting the One Piece. And then the final fight is literally Luffy versus Imu, Luffy Alliance versus the world government, the final conflict, the fight for the One Piece. The official and final fight for the One Piece where Luffy claims it, becomes the Pirate King, destroys the Red Line because that is the one thing that's blocking everyone or the freedom of the world because it prevents all the seas from merging. All the seas merge, Sanji finds the All Blue. Luffy gets the One Piece, he beats Imu, the world government is abolished, more than likely the Revolutionary Army who has joined Luffy's side at this point, right? Enact or become the new governing body with the idea of it being like, I don't know what would be a great example of a good governing body, but essentially that's what that's what I think will happen. I still think the Sun God Nika just basically they have a very good connection in that regard. There's a very good I forgot who it was that mentioned it, but there's a good parallel to what Sun God Nika and everything and Luffy's journey is similar to Sun Wukong. The journey from the east, what was it? Journey from east to the west. There's a very big similarities there. But yeah, that's my timeline of the remainder of One Piece. Do you think Mihawk is really the strongest swordsman? Based on everything that we know, based on what is told in the story itself, yes. I do think so, yes. Do I think Mihawk is stronger than Shanks? No. I do not believe Mihawk is stronger than Shanks. But that's because Shanks isn't a swordsman. Right? I know there's a whole debate in regards to it, but technically Shanks has a sword. You could, I guess, classify him as a swordsman. But Shanks' main power, main source of strength isn't from his swordsmanship. It's from Haki. Journey to the West, yes, that's what it's called, yes. It's literally not his main combative, way of attack. It's Haki. That's where Shanks' real power comes from. It's not from his swordsmanship, but it's from Haki itself. That's why whenever I see that debate constantly going around, is that a person can wield a sword and can be still considered a swordsman. But if the sword isn't the primary weapon or primary source of power that they use, I don't see it as them being a swordsman. I see it as them just having a weapon that they use. Not Shanks, I mean, because Shanks is... I mean, for example, Mihawk stronger than Mars or Garling or the silhouette that looks like Shanks. No. No. I think a lot of people are just taking what they've seen from Mihawk, what they, heard from, like, other people with Mihawk and stuff like that, and just assuming from all of this that Mihawk doesn't have Conqueror's Haki, that he doesn't have any form of Haki, that he doesn't have, like, some sort of, like, power or like some strong Haki that would make him the world's strongest swordsman. There's a difference between seeing what is told in the story and, knowing what the story is telling, or like what the story is inferring. There's no possible way that the world's strongest swordsman could not have a Conqueror's Haki. That makes no sense to me at all. It really doesn't. Now, there is someone who theorized that the reason why we haven't seen Mihawk's, Conqueror's Haki is because he probably sacrificed it to create a black blade. That's a possible thing. That could be why we haven't seen Mihawk's, Conqueror's Haki. But it's like saying... Oh, sorry, excuse me. It's like saying Gold Roger was not the strongest person during his time, when he literally became the Pirate King. That literally infers and tells you that he was way stronger than anyone else in the One Piece verse during his time, even stronger than Whitebeard. Because more than likely Roger and Whitebeard probably both fought for the same thing at some point, right? But Roger's the one who probably had more of the not aggressiveness, but the passion to find the One Piece or find the real history of the lore, while Whitebeard didn't. But that just means that strive for what he wanted may put him over the top in terms of strength as well. Because when you have a reason or something to strive for, you find some sort of innate power, innate ability inside you that makes you stronger than someone else. Think of it as similar to like whenever a mother sees something happening to her son, like, or something that they need to do to protect the son, they suddenly get like this massive ounce of strength inside them to do something that normally they probably wouldn't do. It's that mother instinct. It's very similar in fights, which is why whenever you see in most fiction a fight between two people, you could see a fight where one person is clearly stronger than the other, right? But the person who eventually wins is the one who has the most will and the most innate strength inside them that leads to that victory. Do you think Joy was a member of the D-Clan? So my theory on the D-Clan is simply that the D-Clan were members of Joy Boy's crew. Joy Boy was the first pirate. He had to have a crew. The D-Clan was essentially Joy Boy's pirate crew. When Joy Boy died, they took on the name of the D. The D represents a smile, a grin, right? Joy Boy, because he was always happy, he was always smiling, so that's what the D stood for, right? And the members of the D Clan were part of his crew. However, the Blackbeard's line, Blackbeard's line of the D Clan, that line was the member of Joy Boy's pirate crew that betrayed Joy Boy, with the promise from Emu that, for something, whether it be power, money, I don't know what it was, but he essentially betrayed Joy Boy, and that will lead to Joy Boy's downfall. However, no one else in the crew realized what he did, and he paraded and pretended to still be part of the crew. Joy Boy's the only one who knows the truth about what happened, right? Maybe he jotted down an poneglyph or something, told someone to jot down an poneglyph or something, or told somebody. But essentially, Blackbeard's lineage his ancestor who was there during Joe Boy's era betrayed Joe Boy. That essentially became his downfall, and why he lost during the big war during the Void Century, and why 20 Kings won. And I believe he has COC. What I mean is that I think the Elder with the Sword of Venus is probably stronger than Mihawk, although we don't know if he's a man swordsman. Interesting. It could be that he could be stronger. I do think that he will be essential in the final conflict. Essentially Zoro's opponent during it. It's weird. Like, I understand and if that is the case in that regard, it essentially means that Mihawk isn't necessarily the world's strongest swordsman because he's not the final opponent for Zoro in that regard, especially in this timeline. I don't know. What it could be is that they're both very close to each other, right? Mihawk and what's his name, Sojuro or something. It could be that they're very close to each other in terms of strength and sword skills, right? Where it wouldn't be that much of a difference. That it wouldn't matter who Zoro fought last, right? It could also be that at some, which is another theory of mine that a lot of people also theorized, is that Imu's connection with the Gorosei is clearly evident, especially from this last chapter, right? He has some sort of connection. He probably gave them powers or something like that. What could happen is that Imu could power Nusujuro up, where he essentially does become stronger than Mihawk, right? Where he does become stronger than Mihawk at that point, which will make him stronger. But at the current moment, probably not. I think originally Oda didn't plan to have so many swordsmen. Probably not. But I think essentially it is that Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman. Now, he's not going to be Zoro's final opponent. It will probably be Sojuro, right? Zoro becomes the new world's strongest swordsman, but Sojuro essentially becomes the final stopping point, because it's essentially going to be a powered up, version of him that Imu gives him the power, and that will be Zoro's last opponent, right? And then the winner is going to essentially be, the strongest swordsman. Now, the other thing people need to realize is that Zoro beating Mihawk during the battle for One Piece, it will probably not be an event that will be broadcasted, simply just because the world government would not want that to happen. Now, of course, there's also News Morgan that may, reveal everything to the world regardless. But the final war, the final conflict, all of that is going to be seen by a majority of the people that exist in the world. Why? Because during the final war, the final conflict, there will be another great flood. People will need to go somewhere, either the Sky Islands or on one of the arcs that will exist at the end of One Piece, such as Water 7, such as Noah's Arc, the Arc Noah, Arcs Maxim, and many other things, right? Maybe even the bridges could be used as some sort of an arc. But everyone will see what happens during the final war, final conflict, because that's going to affect the entire world altogether. You cannot destroy the Red Line without anybody fucking realizing what just happened. So, also, they will have to fight S-Hawk? Yes. But I think S-Hawk will probably be... It really depends on what happens, because the S-Hawk, the pacifistas, they will all essentially be involved in the final conflict on the world government side, right? Unless, because Vegapunk is still alive, he discovers or finds a way to make sure to convert them to Luffy's side. That could be a thing that they could do. Because I think what's going to happen is that Vegapunk is going to meet up with Witheria. They're gonna be there, and that's where they're gonna hide. Because I don't think Witheria at all has any sort of connection with the world government, right? Which I do have to talk about Witheria at some point during the stream, right? But I do think that Vegapunk, Lilith, is going to be on Elbap to try to bring back Kuma's humanity, and at some point during that, he's gonna find a way to reprogram the pacifistas, S-Hawk and stuff like that, right? to allow them to join Luffy's side. I think it'll be interesting if Mihawk to fight as Hawk. Of course, that would be very fun. I don't know how if it will happen according to this timeline that I made. Right, it could very well not happen. But it'll be interesting to see if that eventually does happen. Holy shit. What else is left in the... Okay, so I talk about Nami Stonks. Alright, I talk about Nami Stonks and all that stuff. I think I want to get into that a little bit. Maybe in the final conflict, yeah. That could very well be possible. Because I don't think Zoro's going to kill Mihawk, right? I don't think Zoro's going to kill Mihawk, but Mihawk will essentially, give the title World's Strongest Swordsman to Zoro, essentially. But I do think Mihawk has a very strong possibility of joining the final conflict. I don't see Zoro killing Mihawk. It just wouldn't make sense. Because Zoro doesn't care about killing people. He cares about just besting them. So it's possible that it could happen in the final conflict. So, why are Nami Stonks rising with the most recent chapter? Okay, so it's not just the thing that the Vegapunks are contacting Haredas on Witheria. According to Hareda's Vivia card, Haredas apparently lived on the Sky Island of Burka. Right? He left Burka for some reason, and then Eno essentially destroyed or attacked and destroyed Burka, prior to him appearing in Skypiea. However, it seems that the technology on Witheria seemed to, in some form of way, be connected to possibly the technology on Burka. Now, what could that mean in terms for Nami? Well, Nami not only learned stuff on Witheria concerning, stuff like, the Milky Road, which is what she used in Punk Hazard. She never used Milky Road on Egghead, though, which is shocking, meaning that Oda's trying to hide it for some reason from the Vegapunks from seeing it, right? But in the chapter, we see that the Cloud Machine, right, the Cloud Factory, essentially created this multiple clouds that lifted Punk Records up to the sky. This is huge because this is using cloud technology that Vegapunk more than likely probably learned from Haredas, from the people with Witheria. Because on Witheria, they mentioned a weather ball, which according to Haredas, if given to the wrong hands, could be used as a very strong weapon and can be used for very bad things. It is why Haredas doesn't want or told Nami to not, tell anyone below, the Sky Islands about the technology. Because more than likely, that technology is somewhat connected to not only Burka, but the technology of the Ancient Kingdom. For example, the rope that Emmett pulled out from his body, the rope that, caused a huge burst of haki. That seems like technology that was created during those ancient times. A technology that more than likely Imu, the world government, and everyone else probably wanted to make sure nobody ever had access to. However, the people of Witheria do. This proves that Witheria has no connection with the world government. Otherwise, why would Vegapunk even contact them? Witheria seems to be like its own thing, without any world government involvement. Nami learned from them. She learned possibly some sort of, version of that technology. What did she learn? She learned Weather Egg, which apparently is a mixture of different types of storm abilities and powers, and combines them in one small sphere-like thing. It's why when she delivered or gave food to, Zeus, he became this fucking huge-ass fucking cloud that emanated such powerful blasts, like what happened with Big Mom. The technology on Witheria is supposedly very forbidden technology, that if any of it was revealed down below, it would mean that the world government and Imu would know about it and realize, wait a minute, that shouldn't exist. Who is supplying them with this type of technology? This is technology that we were trying to erase all this time. That's why they're afraid. Not because, well, for two reasons. Like I said, because it's forbidden technology and it's likely technology that can be very powerful. Now, what could this lead eventually towards in terms of Nami? Like we mentioned before earlier in the stream, Nami has some sort of natural gift in predicting weathers. Witheria is studying weather patterns and using technology that has sort of connection to weather powers, weather abilities. Could it be technology from Burka? Possible. If Burka in some form of way is connected to the power of weather, power of like storms, stuff like that, that could be huge in terms of deciphering Nami's origin and why it will connect her more to Burka as well. But if Burka is also somewhat connected to ancient technology, that also is a very big thing. That would mean that the ancient kingdom had some sort of technology that they could predict and maybe even cause weather patterns, weather storms, that Nami now can somehow replicate in a very small fraction of that, of that power. We see it with Zeus, we see it with some of the weather abilities, right? They're not as powerful as what Zeus essentially did to Big Mom during WCI when they were trying to escape from her, but it has somewhat connection. And I think, and this is my own idea, is that power, the weather ball, the weather egg, it can essentially be used as something similar to the mother flame, as in a form of energy that will power up whatever it is that Imu used to destroy Lelouch. Essentially, it would act as a new energy source for it, assuming this is Uranus, right? It will act as an energy source and be used to power up Uranus without the use of Mother Flame. This can be huge, which will essentially mean that Nami can use the knowledge from Witheria, her knowledge, her natural gift, and her knowledge of like heat, cool, hot, cold, storm, wind, and all that, connected all together to be able to actively empower Uranus. She could essentially become the one person in the world who can use Uranus with her own gifts and her own abilities and her own knowledge without the use of the Mother Flame, which will then be used to counter against Imu, the Mother Flame, and essentially have Uranus, align and join Luffy's alliance side to stop and destroy not only Imu, but the Red Line itself. Right now, I think the ancient weapons are going to be used to destroy the Red Line, and I think Uranus is going to be the one that does the most damage. Why? Because it will essentially be beams of light that fall from the sky, right? Pluton will only be able to hit the Red Line from a side point of view. But Uranus, as a Sky Island machine or some sort of machine that can float in the sky, can destroy the Red Line on every single around the entire planet. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if that's possible. But Uranus has the capability of doing that on a much larger scale than, like, let's say, Pluton. But I think all three ancient weapons in some form or way are going to be used to essentially cause the destruction of Red Line. And Nami is going to have the ability and the knowledge and the power to essentially be able to operate Uranus without the use of Mother Flame. That will be one of the things that creates the downfall for Imu in that sense. So, again, this is all just theory based, but weather abilities, weather patterns, and just, elements in general seem to have some huge, case of it being able to create a form of energy that can be used to, like, be a very destructive force in One Piece. Which is why Nami Stonks, anytime cloud-based or anything with Sky Islands, Witheria is mentioned, it's a huge boost for Nami. It's a huge boost in her stocks, because it means that it can lead to something like that. And here's where another part of another theory comes into play, where I theorize that all three ancient weapons are going to be operated by a single individual. and I know some people are not gonna like this, especially if you don't want like Nami to have like royal blood or anything like that, right? But all 3 weapons will likely be operated by a princess. Shirahoshi, as we know, is Poseidon. Vivi, I think, is going to be the one that operates Pluton, because more than likely Pluton can only work with the blood of the Nefertari family being able to do it, which is why Imu wants, to capture her really badly, because they probably know that more than likely Pluton will not work if they obtain it, and they need someone to operate it, which probably will be Vivi. It's why we see Vivi, mentioned during when Vegapunk is talking about the ancient weapons. Now, it could just be because she's connected to the ancient weapons in terms of the poneglyph, but I do think that all 3 will be able to be operated by 3 princesses, and I think that's where Nami also comes into play as part of her origin story, where Nami could become one of those 3 princesses. She could have the bloodline of the Burka, where she can operate Uranus, and that's where another one of my theories lies in. I'm hoping to make a video on it pretty soon, because this chapter and the most recent chapters help a lot with my evidence for that case. So that's why I think Nami Stonks just continue to grow. She's going to have some sort of an important role in the final conflict that revolves around her origin story and her abilities and knowledge of weather patterns. So that's why this chapter is really good for Nami, and that's why a lot of Nami fans are excited, because it just helps boost her stonks so much. Apologies. Let me go over what you guys have been saying in the chat. I don't know, some people didn't like Nami. Oh my god. Well, I could tell you a lot about why people don't like Nami. In fact, I made a video on it if you want to check it out. But a lot of people don't like Nami because she's considered the main female heroine of the series. So people who don't like her, or people who prefer Robin, for example, don't like Nami in that regard. They hate that she, legit, one person even said that they hated Nami because Oda gives her a lot more screen time. And it's just like, what do you mean? Yeah, hold on, let me give you a link to that. Literally someone mentioned that to me. Here we go. Yeah, here you go, Chisandy. Those are just a few. I only mentioned a few of the reasons, but there's a lot of people who hate Nami. Do you think Frankie going to get an upgrade body from Vegapunk? I do. Simply because I think because we couldn't get any sort of a moment between them on Egghead, because a lot of shit has been happening. I do think that Frankie will. I said this in my other stream regarding this, but I don't believe Elbaf is going to be like a huge major arc, right? I think it'll be similar to how Amazon Lily was, in terms of because they're making constant parallels between the old time skip or the pre-time skip arcs. So Elbaf likely will be more like an Amazon Lily, where they hang out there, and during that time, Frankie and Vegapunk will probably get those upgrades that Frankie probably should have gotten an Egghead, but because of what the world government was doing and shit like that, they had no time. But on Elbaf, they'll be able to have that time. So I do think they will get an upgrade on Elbaf. Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be a parallel to the Barate fight. Yeah, it could very well be. Yeah. Zoro versus S-Hawk. Yeah, it could be. That a lot of the stuff that I've seen could definitely be parallels, and Oda seems to love it. But again, I just want to. I know I talked a lot about how I'm very confident about all this. Understand, this is just my ideas, my interpretation, my theories. It does not mean any of this is true. It does not mean that at all. Whenever I theorize, it's usually with some form of confidence that I have, but it does not mean at all that I will be correct. I have theorized a lot of things for a long time. I've been reading One Piece for almost 20 years. There are things where I talk about that did not come true. I only had one thing that came true, and that was the whole Sabo thing. That Sabo really didn't die. That Sabo was going to be blamed for the death of Cobra. I got that right. I made a video on it. I got it right. I got that theory right. And I'm sure other people also theorize that as well. So it's not like something that's like brand new, right? But that's one good theory amongst a bunch of other theories that I had that never came true. So I want to make sure people know that I'm not essentially telling you that you should believe me, that my theories are correct, but I just want you to at least just think about it. Just think about it. Maybe you could come up with your own conclusion. Maybe you could come up with, maybe my ideas could make you, oh crap, wait, that could help with my theory. That's why I do these type of videos, not to give you, or make you feel like your ideas are wrong or like your theories are wrong, but it's just to maybe help you think about it in a maybe different way that you didn't think of before. And that's what I think theorists should do. Right? That's how it should do. New chapter was chapter was really good. It was really good, Omnimoon. Holy shit. How are you, Omnimoon? Yeah, we've been talking about the chapter during this stream. We've been like mixed matching because there's just a bunch of stuff we want to talk about during this. But like, yeah, we've been talking a lot about the recent chapter. It was a really good one. It was a really good one. It showcased a lot more of like the constant darker themes that Oda has been portraying post time skip. Excuse me. Holy hell. Almost feels like the hate she gets for no reason. Yeah. There's a lot of similarities. I will say this though. The only thing I will essentially not really tell people, if there's one thing they don't like about about Nami, it's that she can sometimes be a little cowardice, right? And that's understandable because she is technically a coward, right? But she can be strong when it matters, and I think that's what's important. It's the same thing with Usopp. They're both essentially cowards, but when they need to be brave, they are brave, right? And I think we should celebrate those moments more than their cowardice. Right, I do think that Nami has shown and progressed in the post time skip, where she has gotten much more braver. Right? What? Machek. Wait, what? What? Wait, Omni. What do you mean? Is there a mod here? I don't believe so. I don't believe none of my mods are here right now. No, none of my mods are here, so you're good. I don't know why. You're talking about Look. People want to glaze the fuck out of their favorite characters without acknowledging the bad parts. I'm not afraid to talk about some of the things I don't like about Nami's character that Oda has written. I'm not afraid to talk about it. You do not need to be the type of person to glaze the fuck out of a character where you immediately ignored all the bad parts. You are allowed to have a favorite character and discuss and want improvements on the bad parts of the character. To me, that makes you a much better fan, or a much better fan than someone who just glazes the fuck out of the character and doesn't acknowledge the bad parts of that character. Right? For me, I want Nami to improve on the cowardice, and she has, and that's why Nami's character writing post time skip has been really good, because she has shown that while she's still afraid, she's improving, she's getting braver, she's getting stronger, right? And it just seems like there's gonna be a lot more with Nami, which is fantastic. Oh, so you cannot ban me on my own stream, goddammit. Can't ban the streamer. But yes, Nami Stonks really rose this chapter. Maybe not by not a lot, but there's so much new information we got, especially with the whole thing with the Cloud Factory, with Vegapunk contacting with Area. It just improves Nami's chances, Nami's stock for something really big towards the end of One Piece, and it's fan-fucking-tastic for Nami fans out there, right? It's really good. It's really fascinating, And that's why it's a really good chapter for that. It was a really good chapter for Nami fans. York getting played. You deserve it. Now let's move on to the next part of the One Piece chapter. Apology kick? No, you're good. You don't have to apologize. You're good. You're good, Omni-Moon. What was I? Alright, the next part of the chapter we could discuss. We already mentioned it a little bit, that Saturn got his ass kicked because Imu was mad that he let the reincarnation of Joy Boy escape, or like someone who's, you know, related to Joy Boy. And it's possible that Imu didn't know that the person who released that haki was Emmett the robot, right? He probably didn't realize that. He probably thought that Joy Boy actually existed. So I think that is essentially a thing that also improves my theory about how Imu wanted to well, it could also just be because Imu's technically linked to the other Gorosei, so it's like he probably saw everything that they were seeing, so it's probably that. This chapter actually also improves that theory that Imu is giving them some sort of power to be able to be immortal and regenerate and have those type of devil fruit powers. So that's also another plus in that theory that people have been having, so that's great. Rest in peace, Saturn, you bozo. Yeah, fuck him. I'm so glad Kuma was able to get a fucking punch on his ass, right? Before he died, so that was fucking beautiful. But Saturn dying was not necessarily on my bingo card, but it's also not necessarily something that like I wouldn't have would it be too shocking for me, because Imu is now fucking scared. Imu felt the haki of Joy Boy. Imu is fucking terrified. Imu's fucking angry. And that is why Imu killed Saturn. Now, my question, like I mentioned before, is that does Imu know who it was that released that haki? He understands that it was a haki similar to Joy Boy, but does he think that Luffy was the one who released that haki? Did he think that, or maybe he didn't know that Emmett was the one? Like, I'm curious to see whether or not Imu actually realized who it was that released that haki. All he knows is that, that was Joy Boy's haki. Does he know? Is his connection with the Gorosei that really big where he can actually see through them as well? He's able to communicate with them, right? That much we seem to know. But at the same time, does he know? Does he actually know? That is a very good question to ask. Imu shed their britches? Yep. They shed their fucking britches. And good. And, it caused Imu to essentially say, Saturn, you failed me. Fuck you. You're dead. Alright? Melted his fucking face. And more than likely, all the Gorosei are likely dead. It's just that the only reason why they're alive is because Imu is powering them up. Imu is essentially allowing them to continue living. So, but now we see that someone else has taken place of Saturn's position, which also showcases that more than likely the Gorosei have never always been the same. It means that some of the Gorosei passed away and were replaced. That's another thing. That's why it feels like, they've been around for so long. It's because they're constantly being replaced, even though they can regenerate. It's because Imu is providing them with that power. And it also makes sense as to why some of the Gorosei are unaware about Luffy's gum fruit being the sun god Nika fruit. Why? Because some of them were confused, what do you mean? Some of them did not realize that fruit existed. it would mean that they've been constantly being replaced by Emu whenever they fail or Emu decides that it's time for them to go. So, what does this mean now that Emu has a new science and whatever it was, science and something division? Defense Science Warrior God, which is now, according to Emu, Garling, who is famously Saint Frigorlorn Garling, which a lot of people connect to essentially Shanks because they believe that that is Shanks' father. It's a very strong case. Right now, it's not confirmed. It's a theory that people had, but it's likely the case. It's very likely that is exactly what is happening here. And Frigorlorn Garling definitely has a lot of like connections that could make him Shanks's dad. And that is important because who knows what he is planning. It will also explain why Shanks was able to meet with the Gorosei because of who, Shanks is, who his father is. I know people are still on the idea that person who met with the Gorosei is like a traitor for Shanks, or like, is not really Shanks, that's a like his twin or something like that, which I guess you can argue for the sake of it that it is a possibility, because we do see that one guy who was holding his sword that looked very similar to Shanks' sword Griffin, right? So it's possible. Would he turn into a spider like Saturn then? I think that's dependent on Emu's devil fruit ability. Emu's devil fruit ability seemingly has to do with yokai, right? From what we've seen in this recent chapter, right? Emu seems to give yokai abilities, yokai powers to the Gorosei. I tried looking up yokais that had that ability, to like power up other yokai, or like try to look for like the king of the yokai. There is a king of the yokai, but there's not much information on like that the yokai. I forgot the name of it. It's like it starts with an O, I think. But I didn't find any type of yokai that could, have that kind of ability. Maybe someone else found out what it is. But it seems like whatever Emu's power is, it definitely has something to do with some sort of yokai. Now, I have a theory that if they are connected in some form of way to Emu could use the Gorosei as essentially similar to like a Hydra. What I mean by that is that if Emu is the final boss of One Piece, Emu can use the Gorosei, use their bodies as sort of like the heads of a Hydra, right? Where Luffy would have to deal with a Emu that has like the powers or like the transformations of all the Gorosei. And that could be like something huge, like one of his huge powers, one of his huge abilities, right? That could be a thing. The fact that he's somehow connecting and giving, the Gorosei their powers, I think will be a huge part in the fight against Luffy with Emu, right? That allows him to use the other Gorosei as like, heads of a Hydra that appear out of his body, So I think it will be somewhat like that, similar to like how like what's his face, the former fucking Wano, the fucking Hydra guy, the fucking piece of shit guy who essentially had the Hydra fruit. What the fuck's his name? He was such a shitty character, I don't even fucking remember his name anymore. Orochi, yes, thank you, Orochi, yes. right? It could be something very similar. I don't think Imu has the Hydra because clearly Orochi had that, right? So Imu doesn't have like the Hydra double fruit. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that since the Gorosei is somehow connected to Imu, he might have the ability where he could connect them to him to make it look like a Hydra, right? But whatever his devil fruit ability allows him to connect them to him, and then it could be literally Luffy against Imu and the heads of all the other Gorosei. But I think the only way that happens is if each member of the Gorosei loses during the final conflict before Luffy versus Imu reaches its big boiling point. It will likely be like Imu's final transformation that he has, right? Before whatever Luffy's final ability, final power-up is. Whether it's eating the Mother Flame, I have no idea. It's possible. You know, there's a lot of people that predict that Luffy will eat the Mother Flame and then gain the power of the sun, technically. I think that's possible. It will also allow Nami to be the one to be able to use Uranus, because once you eliminate the Mother Flame, right, Imu has no way of essentially using Uranus, assuming that's what it is, right? So, like I mentioned before when I talked about Nami Stonks and about how her natural gift and like her knowledge of like elements and what she learned on Witheria, that's how she could be. That's how Uranus would then be activated by her. I'll explain it much better when I record my whole Ancient Weapon 3 Princess video, but yeah. So I do think like Luffy eating the Mother Flame could literally be Luffy's final power-up. Right? I think that's what it could be. Because not only do you give Luffy a new power-up, but you also disconnect Imu with the ancient weapon that he likely will be using against, you know, everyone else. That will allow the ancient weapons to all fully be on Luffy's side. And that could then be where Imu's downfall happens and the destruction of the Red Line occurs. What I like, based on my theory and what I think could happen, how I envision it is similar to like how Kaido versus Luffy ended, right? Where Luffy is high above the sky, Orochi's just not Orochi, but Imu's right underneath. You know, he's sending out the monsters up there to try to stop Luffy. Luffy yells out, you know, to the world, to the people operating the ancient weapons, to destroy the Red Line. You know, activate the weapons, destroy the Red Line, or use, you know, Uranus as some sort of boost in his power-up to essentially defeat Imu, and at the same time destroy the Red Line. He could do something like, you know, he yells out, destroy the Red Line, you know, Vivi, who is in command of Pluton, Shiroshi, who's in command of the Sea Kings, do what he says. Nami hesitates a little bit, thinking that, you know, if she does this, Luffy might get caught in the crossfire. Luffy tells her, just do it. She does, and that's how the Red Line and Imu get destroyed. Imu's defeated, and the Red Line gets destroyed. Thus, converging of the seas, the water level rises. The water level, you know, right, like I said, it rises. Everyone's either on an arc, maybe on the bridges, you know, stuff like that to avoid the big flood. Right? Everyone sees what is happening. And then the water starts to recede into the hole where Uranus creates when it destroys the Red Line. And as the water recedes, the countries that were underwater for so many years rise back up to the surface, because now the water has receded into the gaping hole that was created by the Red Line. Right? Now, It could be years before that happens, but I think with how big the Red Line is and how big the destruction of the Red Line becomes, the water receding will become much quicker than, let's say, one huge hole, you know, that was caused by the destruction of Lulusha, right? With as big as the hole is of the Red Line, all of that could recede down into the gaping hole, and that's how the old continents rise up from the surface. That's what I think will happen. That's what I theorize. So we'll see what happens. But it will also help a lot with Jinbei's dream. I know I made a video on it as well about Jinbei's dream. How he's essentially going to help, you know, him and his dream of like creating a better bond, a better connection between humans and fishmen, he could literally lead the charge of like a bunch of fishmen, right, to essentially help the humans who aren't able to get to, you know, one of the arcs, one of the bridges, or one of the sky islands where they are safe. Instead, he can help them with the help of the rest of the fishermen to help the humans who weren't able to escape and help them survive the flood that happens, right? That will help. That will allow people to see that, oh, the fishermen aren't so bad. The fishermen are trying to help us. Oh my God, I've hated the fishermen all my life, but like, you know, or had, we're afraid of them, but they're really good people and they're helping us. That helps Jinbei's dream in helping connect all of the connection between fishermen and humans improve. It won't happen immediately, but it's a really big step for Jinbei's dream. So that's why I think the destruction of Red Line does a lot more than just defeat Imu, raise the continent level. It can cause so many things. It could give Sanji the old blue, you know? So that's why it's so important. And going back to what's his face? Garling. It's very strange the way he is talking in the chapter. Because he says he has new orders, meaning that he's going to be doing something. He has new orders, meaning that more than likely he was told something by Imu to essentially do something that more than likely Saturn probably didn't do. I'm very curious to see what that is, what it could be, right? So I'm very interested. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm so gassy. You know? It's gonna be interesting. I do know a lot of people are going to want Shanks versus Garland. I think that does happen if Shanks doesn't die, right? I think that definitely does happen. But if Shanks does die in the hands of Blackbeard, right? Garland, I think, who knows? Garland might go up against somebody. I would not. It could be no. Sabo will probably fight Akainu. If Dragon doesn't die during, and I'm using this timeline as a reference of how I envision the remainder of One Piece goes. If Dragon doesn't die during when the Reds and World Government go to war, because Dragon's definitely going to be fighting Imu, right? Dragon could definitely be the one that fights Garling. Could be. I don't know. It's very interesting. Garling, assuming he is Shanks' son. I mean, if he's Shanks' dad. Sorry. I don't know. He will definitely be part of the... It'll be very interesting to see what he has planned. Right? And it definitely is something that Imu wants him to do. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from this point onwards. And then we see Saturn completely getting eviscerated and melting into a skeleton. Fuck him. Fuck him. Good for him. He deserves it. And now we have the Vegapunks alive. They're currently on the Punk Records and they contacted with Area. And now with the last couple pages we see is the Revolutionary Army, where they go over and discuss what is happening, what it could lead to. They talk about the bridges and the giant structures. All the pieces are falling into place. So they more than likely had a hunch, predicted a lot of the stuff. So it seems like, you know, everything that all the mysteries they've been having seem to like slowly be going to place, which will mean that once they have everything, once they have the full picture, that's when they make their move. And Dragon moves to the beach. His big move. We must hurry and achieve victory for our cause before the people of the world kill each other to secure half of the land. That is an interesting statement from Dragon, which makes sense. They more than likely think that the world will be flooded. Right? Nightgrass, that the world will be flooded, which makes sense based on what Vegapunk said. There will definitely be a fight to survive the Great Flood during the final conflict. And that, again helps Jinbei's dream a lot, because he will likely be the one and the other fishermen to help a lot of these people survive during the Great Flood that is occurred during the Final War. And yeah, essentially, people are going to fight for not only land, but survival. As we all know, whenever there's a huge incident like this, people want to survive. And they will do whatever it takes, even fight amongst each other, fight amongst friends to survive, to protect their families. And they will do that. Celestial Dragons are going to fight the fuck out of everybody. They won't give a shit, because all they want to do is survive and continue to live comfortably the way they are. Unfortunately, the Final Conflict is not going to allow them to do that. They're going to have to bunk and are going to have to, join up with the rest of the humans to survive. That will create conflict between them and the humans, right? Likely, what will happen during that is that there won't be any Holy Knights, there won't be any Marines helping them at that point, and the people will be like, fuck you, and push them out of the way, attack them to, and the Celestial Dragons are gonna be like, do you know who you're touching? That kind of fucking nonsense, and they'll be like, I don't give a fuck, get the fuck out of my way, you fucking piece of shit, I'm trying to survive. It will literally be something like that. So it'll be very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out in the Final War and the Final Conflict, because it will likely be a situation like that. Yeah, overall this chapter was fan-fucking-tastic. This chapter was fucking great. I love this chapter. It gave a lot of not only just because it raises Nami Stonks, but it just has so much good things out of it. Saturn is dead. Fuck him. Celestial Dragons are like crying, like little bitches that they are. Because, they're finally experiencing what poor people are experiencing all around the world. So fuck them. Right? And they definitely deserve it with the way they're acting like spoiled fucking rich brats. Thinking they're fucking gods or some shit. And Punk, Vegapunk is alive. The other Vegapunk machines are alive. They're heading to Etheria. Frigga Larner is a new one of the new elders. So it's like overall, it's just a really good chapter. It was such a fantastic chapter. This is literally like a 9.5 out of 10 chapter. I would give it a 10, but no Nami. No, I'm just kidding. I think overall, if you think this is a 10 out of 10 chapter, I would not argue with that, because that's just how good it is. It sets up so many things. It gives us more info. It allows us to see like the changing of guard and how that change of guard happened. So we got new information that we wondered about, right? So it has given us a lot more information that we wanted to learn. Like, are the elders connected to Imu in some way? Which this confirms that they are connected in some way. That Imu essentially gives them their power. How are the Gorosei immortal? Do the Gorosei constantly, do they ever get replaced? We find out, yes, they do get replaced. And the only reason why they're alive for so long is because Imu is providing them with that eternal life, with that regeneration, with those powers, and he could kill them at any point in time that they want, right? So at the end of the day, we got a lot of information out of this that I think a lot of people have been wanting. For me, Nami Stonks continue to rise, because there's some information out there that can help a lot of Nami theories out there, Overall, a fantastic chapter. Can't wait to see what the next one is next week. Now, the other big thing that happened in the One Piece community was the Vivia cards. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, I'm not going to talk about one specific Vivia card, because I think that's it's still a very controversial, thing. So I'm not going to mention that Vivia card at all. The one major Vivia card thing that a lot of people have been talking about is the whole thing with Frankie.